Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis. Just kind of stuttered on that Lewis part.
He's trying to figure out who he is over there.
But, no, that was you stutter. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. We are going to educate you today about your health, as we usually do. But more importantly, we're going to educate you about whether you're in optimal health, because so many people out there, lots of people out there, come in here or call us and tell us all these things they're doing to help their health. And while they really believe that that's a great idea because they've read it or been told that on TV, Dr. Lewis is going to dispel some of those myths and tell you some truths about how to be in optimal shape and not just barely getting by. Because as we see America sicker and fatter as a nation, we realize health is missing. And we have been very blessed to have lots of new people pouring in because they want to find out what their health numbers are, and they do it with the low-cost lab, and we're going to discuss that as well. But we thought we might give you some pointers as to what to look for whether your health is optimal or if you're barely getting by. So, Dr. Lewis, could you educate us today a little bit about the differences, please?
Yeah, some people think being healthy means they have no symptoms, or being healthy is just not being sick. That's not really true. It's not even close to the truth. And people say, well, I don't feel a difference on this multi, so I'll quit taking it. It's like, well, it's not really about how you feel, although we do care how you feel. And I really appreciate you people that encourage us because, frankly, sometimes Janet and I get way the heck too busy and we get stressed and tired, and sometimes I'm a little short in what I say and how I say it, so my apologies to that. So, Rich, thanks for asking. Was your apple messed up, or did we not do a podcast last week? No, I was blown away over the seminar I took in Tulsa. It did too much, and then Penny says, well, I know a guy that can hook you up with good supplements. So thank you for your humor. Really and truly, we do create our reality. If we focus on what's wrong, what's bad, we create more of it. If we focus on what's good, and, there's scripture in the Bible that says that. And, I told you in one podcast, 1 or 2 or 3 podcasts ago, how I'm called Lucky Louie, and I can't hardly do anything without getting God's blessings. It's every day. It's like, oh, my God, I can't believe you bestowed that on me. And am I worthy? Well, I did it over the weekend. I won't go into the details, but it doesn't surprise her, but she just rolls her eyes and shakes her head about some of the things that I get blessed with. But, one of the things is, if you want 80 acres of corn, you got to plant a lot of seeds. You don't plant 3 corn seeds and wonder why you don't get 80 acres. You've got to plant a lot of seeds in supplements too, and getting the lab work is by far the best thing you can do, because that doesn't take out all the guesswork, but it takes out a lot of it, so we can have a seriously educated guess about how to target your supplements. America leads the world in obesity, and sometimes I'm not polite about saying what I say, and it's like, I love everybody, I really do. Well, okay, 1 or 2 exceptions, but I'm working on those. So I don't want to, and I say the word fat, I don't mean to be offensive, but, let's call it what it is. And if you're overweight, even 10 pounds, you're not healthy. And right now I'm about 10 pounds overweight. I weighed 185 this morning, which is 10 or 12 pounds overweight. And I can tell a difference. I can't breathe as good. My heart's beating harder. And it's because, as Penny said, I know a man that can hook you up with supplements. I kind of got off the routine when we were in Tulsa. And the consistent people get consistent results. Now, I can consistently get other blessings, but I take all these things. If you saw what I took, you'd go, holy cow. Well, I look really, really, really good for my age, and I have an incredible amount of energy.
And that's actually sort of what happened to our podcast last week. When Dr. Lewis goes to a seminar, he comes back with all kinds of information, and he's so excited to share it with you guys. Well, a lot of it is downloads that I have to do and print out things, and he's got a whole series of stuff he's working on for making your skin look younger, which, usually the women are all excited about that. But there's a lot of men out there that are very excited about that as well.
I've got one age spot that's 65. Everybody else, all other skin cells look younger on me.
And that's what I was supposed to be doing last week, was printing out all this information that he came back with. But we were just so inundated with so many things happening, I did not get to do that. So that was really my fault that he didn't do his podcast. So go ahead.
Yeah, I can't believe, she'll throw herself under the bus to save me. It's like, well, I'm very grateful that God has bestowed upon me a good wife. And like I said one time on a radio show, the guy said, well, she's too pretty and she smiles too good and she's too smart for you. And I said, well, I'm a good salesman. And Janet says he wasn't a good salesman. I was drunk when I said yes. So, we have that kind of day every day. We have fun. But because the USA leads the world in obesity, we also lead the world in every other chronic disease. Got that? And, what they don't tell you, and I love our medical profession, and God knows we work with a bunch of them, and I don't think I'm an alternative to them. I think I'm complementary, and I think I do a good job at that. But so many people turn a blind eye to warnings such as diabetes drugs having the side effect of being able to cause thyroid cancer. And that's just one example. Sometimes scientists just feed rats the standard American diet to create chronic diseases for their experiments with rats. Now, how bad is that? 95% of serotonin, for example, is made in your gut. Well, most of our guts are too unhealthy to create serotonin. Serotonin is one of the many good neurotransmitters. Andrew Hughes actually put on Facebook a thing about the different neurotransmitters. So, if y'all not joining Shooting Straight. Yeah. Sorry, I'm still blown out from last week. Yes, I'm excited. Yes, I've got too much information going in my head. But, you've got to do it. You got to throw stuff in. It doesn't matter how you feel. And, yes, the side effect is you'll feel better. But you want to do stuff like, heal the leaky gut. One of the things I've said before, and I read a lot of research, and fortunately or unfortunately, I have a really incredible memory because Janet puts all that kind of stuff in my drink. Glyphosate or Roundup actually changes the cell wall. And the cell wall, when it gets thick, and it's the bad oils, hydrogenated oils that they put in our fried foods. I know they taste good, honey, but they're bad for you. And if it's canola oil, throw it the heck out. But anyway, it makes your cell wall so rigid that you can't really get nutrition in and out. Therefore, you're insulin resistant. And as you're insulin resistant, the insulin says, well, I've got to do something with this glucose. I'm making triglycerides and excess cholesterol. Oh, well, let's clog up your liver, and insulin then starts storing fat all around the body, especially the inside of the GI tract. In the omentum and around the middle. So insulin and glucose should be much, much lower than what it is. And so I'm going to talk about gut health a little bit and some of the diseases that can be caused from poor gut health is not just the things you'd think about like ulcers and gastric ulcers and IBS, gallbladder disease. Those are kind of the obvious ones, but people are coming in more and more with cramps, and either they have diarrhea and or constipation, or they kind of flip-flop between the two. But if you have hemorrhoids, that's not just about your rear end, folks. That's about the health of your GI tract. But think about it, it's also about the health of your vascular system. If you have hemorrhoids, you have the beginning of some sort of cardiovascular dysfunction. And we'll talk about nitrous oxide just for a minute. Only men know about nitrous oxide because it opens up blood vessels to go to the periphery, to parts that you'd like to wake up, and it's not as awake and active as it used to be. But nitrous oxide synthase system helps your cardiovascular system. Well, here's the problem is if you do mouthwash, it kills bacteria, which actually is good, especially during COVID and all this other stuff. But then there's plenty of research that says you have to have certain bacteria on your tongue to start the nitrous oxide synthase cycle. So do you kill the bacteria and get no nitrous oxide, or do you use mouthwash? I think using mouthwash is better. And, you can get nitrous oxide by using some of our amino acids. So I take a lot of amino acids because they're like pre-digested ribeye, although they don't taste as good. But in our amino complete, the number one amino acid is glycine. And glycine not only helps take the place of that glyphosate that has stiffened your cell wall, it also helps in the NAD cycle. For those of you that want to look that up, I'm not going to go too much into it. But then glycine's a really, really cool amino acid, and that's why some of the better supplements are chelated to glycinate or bisglycinate. But it's a pretty well-rounded amino complete. I don't like swallowing capsules, so I just open up all kinds of capsules into the drink that Janet makes for me every morning, and it really does help. Glutamine's incredibly important for healing the cell walls of the inside of the intestinal tract. Now I'm going to jump back to the endothelium of the cardiovascular system. If you've got high blood pressure, guess what? That endothelial wall is agitated, irritated, inflamed, and it's only one cell layer thick. So most of us think, well, arginine, ooh, it helps that nitrous oxide, and it does. That's really good. Most people do not know citrulline. Yeah, citrulline. I'm sorry, I'm looking at cysteine. It's like, no, it's citrulline. Citrulline has a longer ability to stay in the bloodstream. So citrulline for blood pressure or inflamed endothelial problems, cardiovascular problems, is much, much more effective than arginine. Arginine's wham, bam, once and gone. Citrulline hangs around and does the foreplay and hangs around and does more and more and more stuff. But I'm a big fan of both of them. And then if anybody that's done my program and has a liver enzyme, it's not just perfect, I put them on taurine. Look up taurine and see what taurine does. It's not just a good cleanser. And the only other amino acid I really want to talk about is acetyl L-carnitine. God, if you look at the monograph on acetyl L-carnitine, you'll say, holy cow, I've got to take it. Yes, we have it. So that's a good thing.
So when you're talking about glycine, I know it's the shortest and most common amino acid in your body. In the past, people got plenty of glycine from eating bone broth and connective tissue, but most people today are not in the habit of eating homemade bone broth. So is that what you're saying you could do? Just take the glycine and it would help give them energy? Because I know that's part of the fasting cycle as well. They talk about fasting as a good way to be in optimal health. That's something free, y'all. You don't have to buy. So
yeah, give your GI tract a rest. Give it. Some people do the intermittent fasting. We kind of mostly do that naturally. It really, if you fast long enough and make sure you're cleansing correctly, folks, don't do it on your own. Don't do it off of Facebook or the internet, because fasting's not always safe. But then sometimes even your stem cells can reset and be much more effective. So yeah, glycine's a really, really good one. That's why it's the number one component in our amino complete. That's probably a smart thing to do. Eat real food. And people lie to themselves about what they eat and how much they eat. They lie all the time. I lie to myself too. And probably the most easy to talk to and intelligent person is Tara Cooper from Wildly Primal down in Jacksonville, Florida. Look her up. She will talk about eating real food, and she looks the part because she lives the part. Folks, you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. So that's very important that you do that. Quit eating crap. No, that's not a dirty word. Crap stands for, coffee, cigarettes, alcohol, aspirin, processed foods, the junk. And man, I get all agitated when you talk about coffee, because I'm not human till I get a couple of cups. So I'm not giving that up. I have decreased it quite a bit. Alcohol, a little bit, not a big deal. Aspirin, oh hell no. Processed foods, pretty much no. Cigarettes, never. But And just be simple. If you want to be healthy, if you have gas, bloating, and belching, some people say, oh, I have gallbladder disease, I have my gallbladder out, and they took it out, and I still have those symptoms. Well, the easiest way that'll work most of the time is just give up milk, wheat, and sugar. And yes, we have other testing that people are beginning to get onto, our wheat zoomer with different zoomers and food sensitivity test. We're getting some seriously good results from that. But just give up wheat, sugar, and milk and see how much your GI tract heals and how much better you feel. You've got to have digestive enzymes, most of us, for whatever reason, because we're so full of plastics and pesticides. We don't make good digestive enzymes. And that's why I'm a big fan of it. Sometimes we just do the betaine and pepsin. Usually I do the digestive essentials because it has the oxbile in it. And it can help digest your meat, your fat, your proteins, basically.
Yeah, speaking of proteins, there's one called sirtuins, S-I-R-T-U-I-N-S, sirtuins. And it's a protein that acts as an environmental stress sensor and is responsible for longevity. Did you know that actually resveratrol is one of the things that cause that to be activated in your body? So if you take enough of that, you can actually turn on the longevity gene.
Yeah. You know what resveratrol is? It's called polygonum cuspidatum. Yeah, I say that 3 times fast.
Well, you're doing better than my sirtuins over here.
Well, that's good. Janet reads some of my notes, and bless her heart, she is actually smarter and she is good looking. She's a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10, so she's really pretty smart. That brings up a good point, because on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis, and I'd sure like more people on it, but I get people that says, well, what about this? What do you think about this? And, I answered this guy the other day. I said, well, I looked it up. It could be good. But he said, well, what do you recommend for antioxidants? I said, resveratrol. And if you look at and study the mushrooms with the green tea extract in our immune essentials, you'd be crazy as heck not to take that. Which leads me to another point. I told you I'm tired and I'm snippy, and I have a tendency to be I'm a grouch when I'm tired, so y'all forgive me. So many people ask me about certain products, and it's like, talk to the guy that's selling it. And they say, well, I can't talk to him. I said, well, why in the hell don't you just buy my stuff? You can talk to me. That's the point.
Well, this is an interesting topic that you bring up, because
she's trying to divert me.
No, actually, it goes with the same theory, because people come in here all the time and they tell us what they're taking. And we literally had a man in here yesterday that had just come from having a stroke 2 months ago. He was so bent on what he was already taking when he had the stroke that he didn't want to quit any of those, and he was
actually some of them have that as a side effect, but I didn't tell him that.
Yeah. And so he added in 2 of our products here, 2 of the products out of the 4 that were probably the last 2 we would have told him to get, but he got a couple. But, they think, well, there's no difference in what you're selling here versus what the health food store is selling. Even though Dr. Lewis stood here and tried to tell him the difference, he was still just like, yeah, I don't believe this. So we asked one of the people that make our products for us, how do we tell people what the difference is? Because they really think there is none, and they think they'll just get it cheaper. And
like all women are the same, and most of us men know that's bull.
Yeah, first.
I'm sorry.
First he gave us a list, and I think it's a really good list. It says, first, do they manufacture their own product? Does that company manufacture its own product? If no, then go to the next question. There's no way for you to be sure that their manufacturer does core samples, purchases top-notch raw materials, tests for identity, microbes, heavy metals, etc., is compliant with a CGMP, has 300 plus SOPs in place, critical control points, extensive quality department, archiving, recallability, and adverse event processes, etc.
And some famous doctors sell you cheap crap because they're famous. They wrote a book, and most doctors don't write books. They give a ghostwriter $10,000 to do it for them.
And then, like he said, ask them, where does their lipoic acid come from? Is the extraction process solvent-free from Degussa out of Germany, or is it sourced from China with residual benzene, which is a mutagenic and exacerbates neuropathies?
Benzene, as in, causes cancer. They use a lot of the benzene and hexanes to extract certain products, and that's also true of CBD. Most CBD on the market is terrible because of how they extract it. If it's not water or CO2 extracted, you need to leave it alone, and that means 90% of all the CBD on the market is terrible.
Yeah, and then Dr. Lewis, I'd love for you to take this one because everybody does this one. What form of fish oil do they purchase? You know, they all think the fish oil is the same. Is it ethyl ester, EE, or RE esterified triglyceride, RTG? And RTG is 51% more bioavailable and is incorporated into the phospholipids of the cell membrane, 290% better for DHA and 62% better for EPA compared to an EE. Why is that important, Dr. Lewis?
Well, you've heard me talk about, well, our stuff is 290, it's not 290, it's 293% more absorbable. Why is it important? It's because it is a good quality. And the guy yesterday that was kind of looking at me with a glaze, and he's only 4 years difference in age of me, and it's like, well, he's about 30 years older. He says, fish oil's the same. And I got a call from a lady yesterday, said, but I'm taking fish oil. What I do for this and this and this? Well, what she's doing, she's getting my advice and going and buying the crap on Amazon, which I've read some studies that said 40% of everything on Amazon is counterfeit, which I don't know that that's true, but I've read it in more than one area. Why is it important? Because what happens with fish oil many, many, many times is they'll say, well, it's processed in Sweden and Norway. And people think, oh, Sweden, Norway, clean, pure, cold water from the Mediterranean, Baltic Sea, wherever that is. I think it's Baltic. No, they get that crap from Central America and South America and ship it up there, and then it becomes rancid, and then they have to run a bunch of chemicals through it.
Uh-huh. And I had a lady that actually showed me. She goes, I just bought this. I paid $135 for these few products. And the fish oil said fish oil. It didn't say how it was broke down. It didn't say the ratio of EPA to DHA, which is what makes it work. And I thought, and I said, this is really, I wouldn't be giving this to a dog. And she goes, well, I spent a lot of money on it, and I'm going to have to take it. And I thought, okay. So there you go on that one. The other part is, do they use Albion minerals? Or cheap minerals like magnesium oxide and calcium carbonate. Go look at your bottles.
I see that so much. And, back in the old days, especially on the radio, they said, well, I'm taking calcium. I said, it's calcium carbonate. Go to West Texas, get you limestone rock and lick it. That's how much calcium you're getting out of it. And even if it's in the soil, doesn't mean it's bioavailable because the soil has to be a specific pH to take up these minerals. The Albion or Trax, TRAACS, stands for the real amino acid chelate system. If it's got a few of the Trax minerals in it, it's better, and that's what we carry. And not only do we always try to get the very best, we always try to get the very best for the best price. So what I'm saying is, there's people out there that are much more eloquent in the way they speak, and they're very, very good at promotion. And I'm not a good salesman at all. Had to get Janet drunk to marry me. But the thing is, you've got to go to somebody you trust. And so when you're asking me, well, what do you think about this? I don't think about it. If I thought it was any good, I'd have it in my store. If you trust them, go do it. It's okay. It's really okay. And I just want you to be healthy. And I'm not a good fit for everybody, and I know that because I don't know how to sugarcoat things, but I care so deeply. I cry when people don't follow my advice, and then they have a crappy, sick life and die early. I cry a lot. But
like the man yesterday, I told Dr. Lewis, I said, he's not going to be here in a few years because he's that bad off. That's sad to watch.
1 or 2 years, he's going to croak.
And, and how many patients have GI issues as a result of compromised mineral uptake? Because they're over there trying to think that they're taking something that's good for them. Yeah,
and that's like, it doesn't matter if it's cheap or the $130 fish oil, and we can do a test to see if your fish oils are working, but why bother? Why don't you just find somebody you trust, go with them? And, success leaves clues. One of the best things you do is just quit sugar. Quit the high glycemic vegetables. Google that. Go low glycemic only and get off of sugar. And here's what happens, and this is what happened with me the last couple of weeks. Our rushed lifestyles cause our adrenal glands to work overtime. That's why we test cortisol and DHEA. Well, we always test cortisol, DHEA if you get the hormones. But we're living in a stressed and rushed lifestyle, and what happens is mostly adrenaline and cortisol is increased, and that they increase sugar production, okay? And it aggravates insulin resistance. And so because they fill their days with too dadgum much activity, and Dr. Lewis is guilty as heck. I'm super guilty. What you do, you end up, you're sleep deprived, and that varies how much, well, that worsens insulin resistance, actually. And, well, what happens, we carry too much sugar in the blood, and diabetes, or DM, diabetes, diabetes, has been associated with increased in neurodegenerative diseases of the brain. Think Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, MS. And that's one reason when I cut my sugar way, way, way back, I get sharper mentally. And because I know genetically, I've done the 23andMe, genetically, I've got dementia in my future. But we proved on my mother, you can put it off about 25 years. You could see it when she was my age, in her 60s, but dementia didn't kick her butt until somewhere around 88 to 92. And my brother, Dr. James Lewis, he agreed it was somewhere. She was still present mentally at her 91st birthday party. She was riding on a motorcycle with my brother at 91, 92, something like that. But we put it off because we lowered her blood sugar. We gave her the good quality fish oil. We didn't know about the GPC at that time. GPC is kicking butt, making me way, way more mentally aware.
Mm-hmm. Making my 85-year-old daddy real aware. He's, oh my gosh, I can't keep up with the conversation. He actually I gave him my treadmill about 4 years ago, and he's been doing that every day. And we're in the process of moving, and I have a stair stepper, and I don't have room for it right now. And he goes, "Can I have that one too?" And I said, "You sure can." And like I said, he's 85 years old. I talked to him the other day. He'd gotten off the treadmill. He got on the stair stepper, and he goes, "My muscles are really worked out here." He goes, "I think I need to work on my upper body strength a little bit." But his mind is like gold, and he's been roofing on a house outside in the Texas heat at 10 to 4 in the daytime. I mean, something we're giving him is obviously making a difference. So if you look at that person in the mirror and you say, "There is no way I'd be like that," you're the one that needs the optimal health. You're the one that needs to go to our website, fill out the health survey, do the lab, because we can tell whether you're in optimal health or you're not. And another thing, we're being fully transparent about what's going on here. I want to address this. It's not got anything to do with this show, but it does have to do with one of the reasons why we didn't do a podcast last week. The shipping. You guys have always been getting priority mail shipping with USPS, with the Postal Service. And while we still sent it out USPS priority mail, we started having people telling us that it was taking 2 to 3 weeks for them to get their orders. We thought that this would get cleared up, but as you can see on the national news, it is not getting cleared up anytime soon. And we just could not stand the thought that you guys are sitting there waiting for your packages that long. We know you're excited to get started. You wouldn't have done lab if you weren't excited to get started. We feel like it's our responsibility to get those products to you as fast as we possibly can. So we changed services. We are now having them delivered by FedEx. They will come to your door with your package. That made our rates go up a little bit, which we tried to keep down. We've tried to keep all of it down as much as we can. But we were forced into making a decision where we had to change a little bit of it. So now it's free shipping over $85 instead of $75. And
we're still taking a bigger hit financially.
We are.
We're trying to give super good service.
Yes, we are. But we wanted those packages to get to you within the 3 to 4 day window, sometimes faster than that if possible. There'll be no more P.O. boxes that can be shipped to. But if you're still wanting P.O. Box, we'll be happy to send it USPS, but you need to know you might not see it for a very long time. Yeah. So, but we wanted y'all to know. We didn't want you getting on the website and going, "Oh, well, look what they've done." Well, that's why we did it. And it says by FedEx. So We're pretty excited about it. We think it's going to really increase. You're getting your shipments quicker. We had people saying that probiotics were sitting there for 2 to 3 weeks, and while that's fine, the whole process was not fine, that it was taking so long. So we appreciate your understanding on that. And Dr. Lewis, we did not get to any questions today. We need to get caught up with some of those. Keep sending those over on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis. But I would like you to kind of give somebody some inspiration, some kind of hope at the end of the day here about how they can start feeling better with their health, and giving them some light.
Yeah, you find somebody you trust. I've already said that. If it's not me, that's fine. There's a lot of good functional medicine doctors out there. There's a lot of really, really good ones. If you like me and Janet, most people come to me because they like Janet. But here's the thing I put on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis this morning. It says everything is energy. Your thought begins it, your emotions amplify it, and your action increases its momentum. Well, the first person that sent a heart on that was Cricket from up in Illinois. And her and her husband have been doing my program for about 5, maybe 6 years. She doesn't complain about what's wrong. She does let me know what's wrong. But more importantly, Cricket always gives me about 10 times more positive motivation. Well, this is better, this is better, this is better. Her and her husband have been very super consistent taking these things. Even though they may have a bad day or a bad week, they know, they have the faith. They focus on what's good, and therefore they create it. And so thanks, Cricket, for being fast on the love button on that. I appreciate it. So, folks, it is energy. You create the negative crap in your life, but more importantly, you have the power to create the good stuff. And I'm here to tell you, you can have a healthy life. You can have a happy life. You can be full of energy. You can have God's blessings raining down on you that surprise you just because you expect Him to. And yeah, I can prove that, but I won't get into details. You can do it. Find somebody that you feel good about to help you, and if it's us, we'll bust our butt to make you healthy, happy, and whole again.
And with that being said, we'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show. Have a great day.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You're only one step away from a life worth living.